Sipple says we're live.
All right, let's go live.
You got the wristband.
Oh my God, those
off.
things drive me crazy.
I was coming off it when I get home. Welcome in everybody. Parker Sipple for the Lincoln Journal-Star, HuskerExtra.com. This is the post-game wrap for Nebraska and Ohio State. The Buckeyes beat Nebraska, not unexpected, obviously, but the way the game played out, I suppose, was to some degree Nebraska was in it right until the end. Ultimately lost 26-17, 9-point game. Sipple, I guess we'll let people sort of filter in here. And obviously, if you got questions, get them in the comments section. We'll get to as many as we can in about 20 minutes here. But first things first, Sipple, what was your sort of, I guess, high-level takeaway from today?
I don't know about high level. I mean, I didn't expect a close game, really. I mean, I think I predicted 37-21, which is relatively close. But I didn't expect a game where Nebraska had a very good chance to win.
Right.
And in the fourth quarter, they had a very good chance to win.
They did.
We'll get to what happened on the third down and then the fourth down, this field goal. But I mean, it continues that theme. I mean, Nebraska's growing enough as a program for Frost to keep his job. And I would say, and I wrote it, so I'm going to say it too, I thought you saw a lot of reasons to believe in the program today. I just thought you saw a lot of. I thought you saw a lot of them. I mean, special teams. I mean, to be fair, special teams were a mixed bag.
Yeah, they were. They were.
I think he said our special teams have been mostly about the specialists.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Yeah, and so scheme and structure of special teams haven't been bad.
Yeah,
but country, the kicker let them down, 2 missed field goals, including a critical one. But Nebraska's plus in the turnover category, two fewer penalties than Ohio State. Those are the things that the AD's looking at.
Yeah,
I mean, if you read what he's looking for fight, and he's looking for a team that plays cleaner, doesn't continually beat itself. I mean, I think they saw a lot of that today.
It's interesting. It is interesting because you saw a lot of that. You saw a lot of fight. And then at the same time, you also saw essentially the same thing that we've seen a lot of times so far this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't really – the thing about it is the manner in which Nebraska's played, the sort of spirit it's played with, has varied depending on the quality of competition. And Frost said that after the game. He said, if there's one thing I sort of criticize myself for this year, it's that if they would have played with the spirit that they played with today, they'd have a couple more wins on the board. And I think at some level, the conversation is there's multiple layers to the conversation, right? I think you can say that they played hard and they went toe to toe with Ohio State today. And you can also say some of the things that have cost them in other games this year cost them today. And you can also say that
for sure,
it's when you see them stand in with a team like Ohio State, you wonder, how did they lose to now Purdue won today against Michigan State and beat Iowa? Like it's good competition in the Big Ten, but
I don't think you could point to Purdue and say, "Oh, that was an awful loss." Right after we watched Purdue beat the third-ranked team in the country,
right? But I think it is fair to say that there's been 7 games where the game's been in the balance late, and Nebraska's come up on the wrong side of it every single time. And at some point, that's not a coincidence.
Right, that's true. It's just here's what we're doing right now is what the fan base is doing, and there's compelling arguments on both sides.
Yeah,
I mean, you can make a compelling argument that a very strong and compelling argument that the program's growing. You can make a strong and compelling argument that it's not. Now, if you're the administration, you either believe in Frost or you don't.
Right.
This should, in my opinion, no longer be a game-to-game discussion. Either you believe in him or you don't. And it sounds like you probably are on the aisle that doesn't. I'm probably on the aisle that does, or at least he's given them enough reasons to not pay him $20 million going out the door.
Right.
And that's where that's basically where I come down on it. Though I go back and forth. I mean, I do go back and forth in my mind. I know that sounds wishy-washy, but I I kind of go back and forth. Today, I felt like, man, I mean, they went toe to toe. I mean, when you think about Lincoln Riley and Ryan Day, you're talking about two of what we regard as the best offensive minds in the world.
Can't you turn that conversation around, though, Sipple? I mean, can't you say, like I tweeted this after the game, if I would have told you before the season, the only thing you knew going into the season was that they were going to hold Oklahoma to 23 points and Ohio State to 26, no way in hell you would have said they were going to be 3-7 after 10 games.
I mean, so it shifts. The conversation shifts to the offense, where there's a substandard offensive line and a quarterback who's pretty good, but now we learned today that he almost ended his season.
Yeah, after the Michigan State game,
because of a fractured jaw.
Yeah.
And he's playing the last 3 games on a bad ankle. See, all these conversations go back and forth. You could say, wow, they just beat Ohio State with a substandard offensive line and a quarterback who arguably shouldn't be playing. The naysayer would come back and say, well, why do they have a substandard offensive line, and why is the quarterback playing with a bad ankle?
The best option they have at quarterback is a guy with a broken jaw and a high ankle sprain, and they have a subpar offensive line 4 years in.
Right. That's what I said. But both sides are pretty. You can. I mean, just from a pure coaching standpoint, today you about beat the 5th ranked team in the country with that.
Right. Well, yeah.
I mean, you about got them there. I mean, and you also have to put it into context with Trev Alberts, his situation, which is he just took over the job in July, and he has said, I don't care what happened the previous 3.5 years.
Right.
I'm evaluating it now. And also, I mean, I'm not going to act like we don't do any reporting. I mean, what I've heard in the past few days suggests that he wants to keep Frost.
Right. Yeah.
And that where Frost would get himself in some deep trouble is if his team quit.
Yeah. Right. You can't have watched the game today and thought that was what happened. I mean, they played really hard the whole way.
Right. I mean, in fact, I think at this point, if I'm a Nebraska player, I'm almost offended by the question. Like, what do we need to do at this point to show you we're not going to – he's got to keep asking us if we're going to quit till we don't.
Right, yeah.
Till the season's over. I mean, I don't think they showed signs of quitting against Minnesota. No team in the country is up every week, is hitting in that department every week. There's no team. Alabama's not.
Right.
I mean, those teams have emotional letdowns. The very best – Ohio State has. They're good enough to overcome it. Nebraska's not.
Right. That's the thing. Nebraska has no margin for error. They can't have a terrible first half against Minnesota. They can't have a terrible second half against Purdue.
Right.
And the thing that I think frustrates a lot of fans is that they've had a moment, like whether it's a half like that or a critical error every time they've been in a close game this year. So
it's fascinating. It's a fascinating discussion. It's maddening.
It
is. It's maddening. Because you think about the game against Michigan, which we both regard highly. They went toe-to-toe with Michigan. I mean, and then they go toe-to-toe with Ohio State. Now you'd say, well, then they should be able to beat everybody. Well, I just don't think it works that way with a building program that's mediocre in some areas.
Yeah. Well, let's see how the people are doing. Rye Bread on YouTube. How on earth can a quarterback with broken jaw and high ankle sprain be better than a healthy backup?
Well, now that's a great question.
And Frost, you know what Frost said today? He was asked if they had considered using Smothers even in sort of like a run personnel group. And he said, and we don't see practice, obviously, but he said, you're crazy if you think I'm not playing the best guy.
Yeah, he did say that. And I thought I mean, he obviously has an emotional bond to Adrian. So that's part of that. And part of it, Parker's intangibles.
Yeah.
You hear those players go up to the podium one after one and say how much they admire Adrian Martinez. And that counts for a lot. I mean, Samari Tracy is one of the best leaders he's been around, one of the toughest players he's ever been around. You've heard defensive players say he's our leader.
Yeah, I love the game story with just the scene of Adrian walking off the podium and Garrett Nelson just like wrapping him up in a big hug. You know, I mean, it just You can tell watching the guys what they think about him.
See, Parker, if you pull him out of the equation, yeah, there's tangible reasons that would probably benefit you. But does that outweigh the intangibles of, man, the guys play for him?
Right.
I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's Adrian's team.
Yeah.
Now you pull that out of there, I mean, I don't know what you'll lose there.
Yeah. And it like, it's crazy. I mean, for us, like, the thing about this conversation is, I was talking to Max about this earlier. Like, the flip side of that conversation is they've won one game since Martinez broke his jaw against Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
If he had opted for season-ending surgery at that point, they're probably in the same boat win-loss wise with Logan Smothers playing in that. Now, it wouldn't have unfolded the same way, obviously, but they're 1-4, 1-5 since then.
Right.
So it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it is.
Why were Ramir and Yant not in the game when it was most pivotal at the end? Ryan, good question.
Why is that?
Well, that's a pass pro conversation, has been all year, about when he's in the game and when he's not. They don't like having him in there in passing situations. Ramir was hurt. He got banged up third to last series, I guess, and didn't play the last two. He was limping pretty good after the game. So Nebraska's got a bye week, obviously, next week. So time for a lot of guys to get healthy. But yeah, Ramir was an injury situation. That's why you saw Marquise step for the first time in a long time for the last two series of the game.
Yeah, no, Ramir didn't look too bad walking off the field.
No, yeah, he was limping, but it wasn't
limping.
like
right. He didn't. It didn't look serious to me. No wrap, no brace, nothing.
Right. Ron Burgundy, hello Ron, says Black Shirts giving us a chance. Keep giving us a chance. Yeah, they sure did today. I mean,
what can you say about Chenander? I mean, that was an incredible performance in some ways.
Yeah, right. And I mean, Ohio State had 495 yards, but they also ran 84 plays. I mean, they're averaging 8.25 yards per play. They got 5.9 today. So almost a yard and a half less per play than they average on the year. They turned over CJ Stroud twice. He hadn't thrown a pick since September 18th. They got pressure on him as the game went along. The one you want is the one that was on the ground late. You know, listen, I got to be real about what I see and what I talk about, what I write. I never would have dreamed Nebraska hold Travion Henderson to 92 yards.
To 92. I never would have thought that. And what per carry? 3 and change.
Yeah, 4.4 for him. He had a 22-yarder.
4.4.
22-yarder late. But yeah, their longest running play of the game was 22 yards.
See, I never, when I've watched Travion Henderson this year, my thought was he'll tear through Nebraska.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
See, that's Parker. That's where I'm coming from. I mean, I can't have that conversation in my head watching them play Indiana or whoever, and then when Nebraska holds him, try to minimize it.
Right.
Try to diminish it. Try to say, it wasn't that good. No, I mean, I never thought they'd do that.
Right. Yeah, the defense, they gave it 495 yards and Stroud finished with 405 passing, but there's an eye test component to it. I mean, you watch them play their asses off. Yeah. And they really, it wasn't like they got Ohio State had a big run at some point either. I mean, they made it consistently difficult for Ohio State to operate offensively for the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State knows it was in a game.
Yeah.
I mean, Stroud knows he was in a game the way he got hit in the pocket. Henderson knows he's in a game the way he got hit on those runs.
Yep.
I mean, that was a real football game today.
Henry said, what'd you think about Frost commenting on Martinez's injury? That was the most open he's been on any player's injury.
Here's why he did it. I don't think there's any doubt. There was no doubt in my mind. Now, he said he did it because the bye week's coming and he can get healthy.
Past it.
But this was Frost making a case and telling the fans what they've been up against.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
100%.
Yeah, that was what that was. Like it or not, that's what it was.
Other than Illinois, we don't have a bad loss, Greg says. Yeah, I mean, it's a good league. You're going to have to win 50-50 games. That's the thing. And they've had a tough schedule for sure. But, then that makes it a really good win today with Purdue going to or beating Michigan State. Questionable play calls, Ron. Yeah, I didn't like Frost defended it after the game and said it was the right football decision. I did not like Sipple knows this. He was sitting next to me. I did not like the decision to kick the field goal when they were down by 6 with 10 minutes left. Now, you can make an argument. The defense got to stop. They got the ball back. But when you've got 4th and 4 and you're on the 13-yard line going in with a chance to take the lead, I just thought, first of all, I thought Ryan Day handed Nebraska one when he kicked the field goal to go up 10 rather than trying to extend the lead to from 10 to 13. Because if you score a touchdown there, you're up 17. It's a 3-score game. Nebraska's field goal kicking had been so iffy that I didn't really like. What good does 13 do you? 2 touchdowns when you could go up 3 scores. And then similar situation. I thought Frost going, kicking a field goal to try to get within 3 instead of, going for it to try to get in position to go ahead with a touchdown. They got the defense got to stop and got the ball back, but then they had 90 yards to go.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it was. I mean, you're not second guessing it because you said it at the time.
Yeah, right.
I mean, what Frost said in the postgame, and by the way, I thought it was good the way he met that question head on.
Yeah.
I thought Frost handled that instead of being snippy and defensive. He explained it very well.
Sure.
Now he basically said you can agree with it or you can't, or you either agree with it or you don't. But he laid out why he did it. The defense did get a stop. They were 1 for whatever on 3rd downs.
Yeah, 1 for 11 at that point.
Yeah, 1 for 11. They weren't converting. Adrian overthrew foul. I mean, the play call on 3rd down. Frost pointed out, and he's not wrong when he says, "Look, if he completes that pass, we're not even having this conversation."
Right.
So that's on Adrian. I mean, Adrian's got to hit that pass.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he sailed it too. I mean, what? I mean, how do you? It's not that hard of a pass.
But what seems like happens is Nebraska just ends up in the situations where they can't win in those scenarios. Like in the first, if Frost didn't, I'm pretty confident on this. On the first drive of the game, they missed a field goal on the first drive of the game. Nebraska did.
Yeah.
And they had a 3rd and 2, and it looked to me like they were setting it up to try to be in 4-down territory. And Ramir got stuffed in the backfield on 3rd and 2 for a loss of 2, and they kicked the field goal. And it's like, Frost said they were in 4-down mode kind of a lot of the game and calling plays to set up 4th and manageable off of 3rd down. It's like they did that early in the game, and then they couldn't get enough yards to even give themselves. And then the time that they do put themselves in position to go for it on 4th down, they kick the field goal and they miss it. And it just is like, you just got to have, you got to have points. It's okay. You want to kick the field goal. If you make the one in the first quarter, and then you got to have points, and they haven't got them nearly often enough in those situations.
Yeah, that's a situation too where you got to have a kick. Come on.
Yeah,
you don't have a.
Well, think about this. I mean, I think it speaks volumes that Michigan came in here and Jake Moody was 4 of 4, and then Noah Ruggles today 4 of 4.
Yeah, I mean, just they hit them all. It's like they're automatic. In Nebraska, it's a 50-50 proposition. It seems like it's Contreras. He just took over the job last week.
Yeah.
But again, I mean that. So why are you putting a kicker out there that just took over last week?
It felt like he was choosing a kicker who's in his 2nd game starting over his 4th-year quarterback. I mean,
Frost said he's been kicking it well.
Yeah. Tony has a good question here. Hey guys, so seriously, now what? Do you think there will be an announcement one way or another about Frost's future over the bye week? And what do you honestly think is going to happen?
I honestly think if I had to predict it, they will. I think they'll make an announcement over the bye week that they'll retain Frost. And if they're going to do it, like I said, I mean, all I'm saying, and I'm very resolute about this, I don't think that it should be a game-to-game discussion at this point.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, like, if you beat Wisconsin and then lose if you beat Wisconsin and say, oh, see, they should bring him back, and then you lose to Iowa, do you say you shouldn't bring him back in a week's time? By now, you should have made the decision whether you believe in him or you don't, or you're stronger one way than the other, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, nobody has to say they totally believe in Frost, but the leaders have to at least be in a position where they're betting on it to work. So you bring him back or you don't. At this point, why keep it going?
Right.
Now, if they don't, it's probably a bad sign for Frost.
Yeah.
If they don't announce anything this week, it's probably a bad sign. Maybe not. We've seen it at Nebraska in 2013 where the AD Sean Eichhorst kept it the discussion open until the Saturday after the Friday season-ending game, and then brought Bo back.
Yeah.
Bo Pelini back. They could go. They could do that way. They could go.
Yeah.
They could go that way.
But it's a bye week. They're going out on the staff's going out on the road to recruit. I'm sure if they know, I mean, I think if they know that he's going to come back, if the administration knows he's going to come back, you think that they'd want to make that clear
Right.
with a staff going on. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The feel, I don't mind saying it because I wrote it in the column. The feel I got from sources this week was that barring a team just mailing it in a la 2017, they want to bring him back.
Yeah. Ron asks, is JoJo done for the season? Anyone here? Don't know for sure. He's hurt. Frost said he's playing hurt. He made the decision to play today hurt. I mean, if you want to paint the picture after the game, I mean, Frost said he'll have to make a decision on the last two games. He was on the field with his whole family, hugs and photos and everything on the field after the game. And then Garrett Nelson teared up talking about him.
And talked about him in the past tense.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see on that. JoJo has a podcast. He didn't talk after the game. He's got his own platform if he wants to make that announcement in the next couple of games. It looked like a finale. I mean, it looked like a finale. We'll see if it was.
It did.
The problem with Nebraska isn't defense. They've gotten better over the 4 years. The offense, except for the tight end room, has not gotten better. That's on Frost. In 4 years, his offense has gotten worse. I don't want this offense or quarterback anymore. Well, Antonio, yeah, it's been frustrating at times for sure. And certainly, like, if you were, I mean, the defensive staff's held up its end of the bargain. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Almost to a man over the course of this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he'd be crazy for us to make any changes on that side of the ball. But I don't think there's any doubt that he has to make changes on the offensive side.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that the fans agree on.
Yeah.
If he stays, it would be hard for him to look at his bosses and say, I'm keeping my offensive staff intact.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be, I mean, just no matter what happens, whether he stays or go. I mean, it's just a really interesting and probably very busy few weeks ahead.
Yeah.
Ray says the right tackle position struggled the whole game in pass pro. Yeah, Ray, it wasn't just Bryce Bennett either. I mean, they struggled overall in pass protection. It's one of the things that going for it, they're young. I don't use it as an excuse. They're young on the offensive line. Corcoran's young. Ben Hart's a third-year player, but he's technically a redshirt freshman. I mean, they need to get better there this offseason. There's no doubt about it.
I think they got to go get a tackle in the portal.
Yeah. And then maybe, Prohaska, knee injury. I mean, he's probably back by the time next year starts. So maybe you've got one, but I'm not sure if they have. Yeah, I agree with you. I think they got to find somebody. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not going to be easy to just pull a high-level tackle out of the portal because those guys are going to have a lot of options, but they need to try.
Look at what Michigan State did. Michigan State, well, they went and got the running back, Kenneth Walker, but they're starting left tackles out of the portal.
Yeah.
They went and got him from Arkansas State. You can find them around.
You know who else was out of the portal this season?
Who's that?
Noah Ruggles, the kicker for Ohio State. Grad transfer from North Carolina.
Is that right?
Went to Ohio State for his final year. Hasn't missed a kick all year.
You can do that.
Yep. Let's see. Seems like every game there's a key mistake. Why? Yeah, Scott, good question. I mean, teams make mistakes. There's no doubt. I mean, every football team make mistakes every week, but Nebraska has mastered the art of the critical error.
Yeah.
Say they fire Frost. Who's willing to take the job?
A lot of people.
Says. Yeah, that's what I think too.
A lot of people. I always resist that reason as a reason to keep him. If you flash 5.5, there's a lot of good 5.5 mil. A lot of good coaches will jump.
Yep.
You won't have trouble getting a good coach.
And you know what? I mean, you can look at it if you want to look at the glass half full way of thinking too. Either the young core of this roster stays and you've really got something to work with and you're not starting from scratch, or you can sell immediate playing time to a lot of guys in the portal.
Yeah, it works out pretty well. You can go get a good coach.
William says Nebraska football will be on probation for a year. True or false?
False.
I don't think so. I mean, we'll see how that all ends up, but we'll see how that shakes out.
It's a legit question.
We got people saying that we need to take our stupid masks off, and also that you need to cover your nose, Sipple. So
which one?
Here's a question that is something that you'll probably write over the coming weeks, Sipple. How will history judge Adrian Martinez?
Harshly.
That's yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. Well, now hold on. It's interesting. What those guys were saying at the podium, the Nebraska players, was really interesting to me. That they want to go get those trophies.
Yeah.
You know, the trophy games against
Wisconsin, I almost
Iowa.
asked Cam Taylor-Britt if he had a decision to make
about
like whether to play in the last 2 games or to start getting ready for the NFL draft. And then he just flatly said, we've got to go get those 2 trophies. That didn't sound like a guy who was going to go. Okay, now I don't take that lightly. Yeah.
I don't just brush over that. He could leave. And you know what? Society's built in that people leave.
Right.
You know, that they quit on their teammates and they say it's okay. We've done, and I'm not going to get on my I'm not going to get on my I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but we've done a good job as a society building in this mentality. It's okay to leave your team.
Right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Do it. Look out for yourself. Man, Cam Taylor-Britt standing up and saying that, that means a lot.
Yep.
To me, you know, I know not everybody agrees, and that's an old guy take, but is it an old guy? Does it have to be an old guy take?
No, it's not. I appreciate it. I mean, and we'll see. I mean, there's guys. There's some guys that are beat up. You know, Doman, and that's what Frost was sort of laying the foundation for whatever JoJo decides when he said it's not about opting out with him. It's about whether he can play because he's hurt. So, you know, we'll see about that.
But don't you think that sounds so much more appealing? Hearing a kid say, I'm going to come back and play even though I don't have to, and that a lot of people give me a pass. Doesn't it just sound better?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Way better. I mean, I think it sounds incredibly good.
Yeah.
And it makes me think that, that's a fighter. That dude's a fighter.
Yep.
And he just doesn't care about himself.
Right.
Cares about other guys.
Yep.
His boys.
Yeah. It's interesting. Josh here asked if if Nebraska is literally one difference maker away from being 7-3 rather than 3-7. He throws in quarterback too. Frost sort of entertained that conversation actually on Monday. Sam McEwen from the World Herald asked if Brendan Hymas was on this team as a left tackle, how different would the season be? And Frost said, you're always, when you're so close in so many games, you're always liable to say, man, one piece here or there could really be a difference.
I never get it.
And then down here, Stewman says, at a minimum, this team needs a quarterback, a kicker, a punter, 2 tackles, an offensive line coach, a special teams coach, and a quarterbacks coach. And also says throw in an entire offensive line from the portal. So you can always look at it as like, man, if they had Hymas, maybe they're 8-2. And you can also look at it and say, like, man, they need some overhaul.
I think what you got to do is prioritize in that conversation. Because now, to be fair, there's a lot of teams you could look at, good teams, and say they need this, this, and this. Iowa, you can do that, for instance, pretty easily, right?
Yeah.
You could look and say they need a quarterback, and they needed some offensive
receivers, and you
can do that. I mean, you can play that game with a lot of teams.
Mike asks, are journalists becoming more like fans? Well, there's some people who are in the media that aren't really journalists. So that's one part of the question. I don't know.
I think so. I mean, I definitely think that. I think that the fans want media to become more like fans.
I'm not.
I know you're old school.
I'm old. Yeah.
I'm pretty old school, although I think we all agree that the separation, the lines become really gray.
Yeah.
Like most people don't even know,
Sipple Boomer coming out. That's right. Okay, 2 more and we're out of here.
Is that really a boomer?
No. It wasn't that. It was before when you were talking about it was about how Cam Taylor-Britt coming back.
Well, but is that a boomer conversation?
No. You just appreciate it more because you've seen more of the world.
Yeah.
Ryan says, does anyone ask Frost who handles running back personnel decisions? No, it's Ryan Held. I mean, if Frost, like during the week, wants somebody in the rotation, he obviously has the ability to say that. But like in the game, Nebraska goes into the game with a personnel plan, and then Held manages the rotation as the game goes along. Any word on 5-star transfer defensive back Tyreek Johnson? I mean, he's in uniform. He just doesn't play, and he doesn't play.
Word.
Yeah, he doesn't play special teams. So when you don't play special teams,
what's that? Lebo. What do you conjure up in your mind when you're not playing special?
But Nebraska's cornerback rotation is Taylor Britt and Newsom are the starters. Braxton Clark plays, and he played a little bit tonight. And then Buford's their next guy. So then Marquise Buford, yeah. And then after that, somewhere it'd be Tyreek Johnson, Taman Lynham, and Nadab Joseph, who hasn't been in uniform recently. There you go. That's all we got for today. A half hour after the game here in Nebraska loses to Ohio State 26-17. Interesting day, interesting days and weeks ahead. Keep it tuned to journalstar.com/Huskers. Consider subscribing to HuskerExtra.com if you haven't done that. No matter what happens over the next few weeks, we'll be around to cover it all for you. We got a ton of stuff on the website right now, so check that out. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll be back for more tomorrow and into the bye week.